some of the comments we've gotten so far. One was from Super Iron Bob. Art galleries and high culture art serves to signal membership. It's less about the art from my own observation.
Yeah, I'd say that's fairly astute. Also, we just got out of like this massive boom in art fairs where you go down to Miami and there were literally 24 parallel fairs. So it's like, whose art world? Some of these circles are overlapping and some of them are kind of like in their own orbit. There's interaction, and bringing everyone down to Miami always felt like this is a festival of art. And, so you have everything from modern artwork that's now more or less kind of an antique, and then like graffiti art that showed up yesterday. So and that's great because we're getting like a wider purview on what the actual culture is, because it's arguable that we're in one of these periods, this massive era shifts where like there are multiple salon de refugees, like including all the digital art in general that's kind of in its own online schools of thought and networks. And then what might be seen as the academy, which is like the very moneyed institutions and larger blue chip galleries that end up also kind of pushing into the antique realm. Of course, that constitutes the cultural landscape from the informal to the very formal, but and we need it all. But I think we're at a special moment where these worlds are colliding, interacting, overlapping, informing each other, and I can only see good coming from that.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious that all the larger festivals are playgrounds for the dandies, the hyper wealthy, who artists are catering towards right now with their bananas fucking stapled to walls and bullshit like that. But the barrier has always been money, and it's been raised by artists in collusion with dealers and galleries to deify the work when it is what it is. It is there. It's a banana on a wall. It is whatever it is. But they've imbued it with some religion. They've infused some religion in it. And getting back to my main point, it's a beautiful moment to make everything affordable, so that like if you're buying a specialty pillow for your couch, you should be able to afford art. It shouldn't be a sacred thing. It should be distributed widely, and everyone should get to purchase it, enjoy it, collect it. It'll democratize it rather than fucking Art Basel. All of these fairs to me are just like they're opportunities for decadence. But what opportunity for decadence do you have, in a post-pandemic world? And what should the art be about?
First of all, like I think those weren't festivals; they were art fairs. They were commerce, right. Like competition, kind of like mini Olympics of art that were kind of around the Venice Biennale discourse, and they were selling stuff before and after it. That's how I think the whole art fair thing kind of took off. It became a festival because people made it a festival, because they were like, well, there's this thing going on, so I'm going to do my thing, and then all of a sudden there were 24 fairs, and that's a wonderful plurality. So sometimes you have to see like where something transforms. Also, the whole banana thing. An art historian can probably correct me if I'm mixing up something, but one of the precedents for that was like the image from the Andy Warhol album cover for the Velvet Underground, of course, which was super underground, right? Not that long ago. That comes from this artist who spray painted bananas on the outside of a gallery wall to signify what a cool new gallery was. And then it became de rigueur, and everyone wanted to spray paint, and they even made their own stencil to mimic it and put that on the front of their gallery because they didn't want them to see banana-less. So that was like one of those things where you're like, okay, something that was like avant-garde, really outsider, really fringe, all of a sudden like pop is now like the norm, and everyone's like on board with that.
It's always been the norm.
I'm at the cusp of that again because Lev's got a Patreon. We're seeing like the emergence of a fifth estate, basically. It's a whole like capital kind of shift where you have people who you know, they're like self-made news anchors, and they have 1 million followers, or even an Instagram account where people are making money from. That's still a relatively new phenomenon. That's a 21st century situation. 5D media is in its infancy, and so we have like the fifth estate, 5D media, and then like, you know, uh, other things that are kind of consciousness expanding, and that's what I think the mission, the meta mission of art has always kind of historically been about: consciousness and expansion of human consciousness.
There's nothing, in my opinion, wrong with elitism. It's just we have terrible elites that like not so great artworks. There's a lot of good to it, obviously, but I think that maybe art should become more of a narrow path. Who knows, right? Maybe there has to be some sort of quality control. But at the same time, there is this disconnect between what it means to make art within a system and what it means to make art as say a digital artist or someone who has an Instagram account. I think the same problems that plague academia are the same problems that plague the art world, in terms of people who are very disenfranchised, who are quote unquote canceled, or who can't find a voice within the institution. They're going to direct publishing because you can make something like, and you could just put it out there instantly. Like, I think it's interesting though how every one of us here, we sort of rely upon not just digital art but internet culture. Like, I'm more of a traditional artist. I use traditional medias, but yet a lot of my pieces are heavily reliant upon meme culture and things like that. And so I think that when you're attempting to lift something out of impermanence, because that's what meme culture is, it is a evanescent cycle of trends that are very fugitive, that arise and fall apart. And when it comes to artists trying to appropriate it, I think that they're going, like, at least the mainstream, quote unquote mainstream people are going to find out that it's very difficult to take the same sort of milieu that people growing up on the internet have and trying to, like, you know, put that within the gallery and in the Biennale systems. I think, like, I don't know, the thought of like someone painting like Pepe the Frog and like putting in the Venice Biennale, it's like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Then you know the meme is dead, right? Because as soon as it reaches the light of day to the normies, then it's gone. But that's the beauty of meme art. It's like graffiti, right? You know it's going to get buffed out, but there's something about the intangible nature of trying to capture that I think the art world has to reckon with. Same way academia has to reckon with self-publishing. Like, there are people who are publishing quote unquote dangerous ideas right now that are getting massive traction. And I think, like, the people viewing this, I think I know, you know, you can name the names, right? But that's the thing. In some ways, we can't go back to true art elitism, whether that's a good or bad thing. Like, I think that's a valid debate, right? So,
what is art elitism?
But see, that's the thing. Every institution inevitably crumbles. I mean, you have for example, in the 19th century, you had the academic style of art.
What is it? I mean, I know what's around it, what's ambient, but what would you say? What is art elitism? I mean, is that just circulating art?
But is it the elitism of taste, or is it the taste that
for those who can afford it? You know,
for those who can afford it, or is it the taste
of those who can afford it? I mean, these are basically
But,
mathematicians.
yeah, exactly. But that's the debate, right? I think that
the debate is I wouldn't. Well,
but what is taste? But that's the thing. What is taste? That's the thing.
Matters.
I mean, because I think nowadays we have that sort of crisis of taste, in my opinion. I think that, well, in some respects, yes, some respects, no. I think that there is interesting art in the art world that's being made, but I think at the same time, a lot of artwork that is trending towards commodification. I mean, we all know about like Cause or other artists who have a very like unique style. But then, but there's other people that like quote unquote normies find disgusting that I happen to love and enjoy. Like, I'm a huge fan of Damien Hirst. I've written reviews of his work, and I think that what he's doing is probably some of the most fugitive out there art right now. But yet people look at it and they're like, oh well, it's just like a lamb in a box in formaldehyde. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, he's been around for a while.
The YAB is like really
Yeah, I think it would be a mistake to narrow the art. I mean, I think there's like some miraculous art going on right now. The last fairs, not festivals. I stand corrected. I've seen some marvelous things, and the issue was I couldn't really afford them. Couldn't because they had been inflated in value, so that nobody actually at the fair, even at the affordable art fairs, you have ridiculous prices. So let artists become
yeah.
more like artisans and create more art, even if it's bad art. At least they're doing something. And if they can't make enough money from it, they'll drop out, unless there's UBI, in which case they won't, and they'll continue being bad artists. But at least they won't be bad politicians.
Then everyone will be a bad artist.
Or bad anything else, you know. It is not a tragedy. There's no crisis. There's no fucking plague on the art world right now. The only crisis is you can't sell art and you can't survive. Like, forget about the community. There's no art community. Everyone's out for themselves, please. Except a few people in a few circles, maybe. But when the money's on the line, they turn on each other every single time without fail. So I would say this would be a great opportunity to get out meme art, cartoon art, try to expand Patreon and different ways of collecting small dollars, personalize art, you know, and offer it personalized. In ways, I'm not a visual artist in the sense I'd never be a painter, but if you could actually, you know, tailor art for each customer, for each buyer, let's see, not even call them fucking collectors anymore. Let's just buy it and democratize it rather than make it more elite, because it's getting ridiculous. I'm going to staple a roll of toilet paper to the wall. It's going to be my banana.
Yeah, but in some ways it's already happening. I mean, with digital art, for example, that's I think that in some ways it's a blessing and a curse, because there's a lot of digital artists that are making money off of prints, but yet there still is sort of the natural community that gets revolved around it, and there's all this like politics behind the scenes. But
right.
For me, I don't know, I'm not a digital artist, so maybe I can't speak to that.
At a certain price, everything will sell, including, you know, my toenail clippings. Well, maybe that's a negative value, but at a certain price point, everything in the gallery will be sold, and that price is what it's fucking worth. It's not worth a cartel warehousing them in galleries, you know, an artist selling 2 works a year and trying to survive on that, because it's like the prices are so inflated. Open the fucking warehouses, open the galleries, let the market decide what is the worth, let it go in a month, and let everything and everyone enjoy art.